My name is Mark. I'm 34 years old, and I've spent the last 10 of them staring at white lines on black asphalt. I'm a private courier. I don't drive a big rig. I drive a heavy-duty Ford F-150. It's faster. It's quieter. It's anonymous. That's why people hire me. I don't ask what's in the boxes. I don't ask why the delivery has to happen at 3 a.m. I just drive. The pay is too good to be curious. This job started in Boise, Idaho. The client was a man in a gray suit. No name. He handed me a silver briefcase. It was heavy. Don't open it. Don't stop for more than 10 minutes. And don't take the main highway if the weather turns, he said. His voice was like dry paper. I left at 4 p.m. The first few hours were easy. The hum of the tires was a lullaby. I had my routine. A thermos of black coffee. A pack of cigarettes I promised myself I'd quit. The radio was playing some old classic rock station. Life was simple. But as the sun went down, the world changed. You know that feeling when the sun hits the horizon? The shadows stretch out. They look like long, thin fingers reaching across the road. I watched the light die in my rearview mirror. Then, it was just me. Me and the high beams. Around 9 p.m., I hit the border of the national forest. The trees here are different. They're old, thick. They stand so close to the road it feels like they're leaning in, watching me pass. I was tired. My eyes felt like they were full of sand. I checked my GPS. 6 hours remaining, Gary. That's what I call the GPS, whispered. The screen was bright in the dark cabin. Too bright. Then, the first weird thing happened. The radio didn't go to static. It didn't fade out. It just changed. 1 second, I was listening to a guitar solo. The next, it was a recording of a weather report. But the date was wrong. Today is November 12th, 1984, the announcer said. His voice was calm. Too calm. Expect heavy fog. Do not leave your homes. The search for the missing children continues. I frowned. I checked the dial. 97.5 FM. A local station. I tried to change the channel. Every station was the same. The same man. The same date. 1984. Great, I muttered. Atmospheric interference. I turned the radio off. The silence that followed was heavy. It felt like something was sitting in the passenger seat next to me, pressing down on the cushion. I reached for my coffee. It was cold. Stone cold. I'd just poured it 10 minutes ago. I took a sip anyway. It tasted like metal. That's when I saw the sign for the detour. It wasn't a digital highway sign. It was a wooden board, crudely painted. Bridge out. Take Old Loggers Pass. It was pointed right, toward the mountains. I checked the GPS. The screen was blank. No map, no lines. Just one sentence in white text. The road is open. I hesitated. I looked at the main highway ahead. It looked fine. But then, I saw the lights. Massive, blue flashing lights. A police blockade? An accident? I couldn't tell. There were dozens of them. But there was no sound. No sirens. Just the silent pulsing of blue light against the trees. I didn't want to deal with the cops. Not with a mysterious silver briefcase in my truck. I turned the wheel. I took the exit for Old Loggers Pass. As soon as my tires hit that road, the humming stopped. The asphalt was different here. It didn't reflect my headlights. It seemed to absorb them. I felt the truck settle into the gravel. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I looked at my dashboard clock. 10:15 p.m. I looked again 5 seconds later. 10:15 p.m. The seconds weren't ticking. I was on a road that didn't exist on my map, with a radio from the 80s, and a clock that had decided to stop. I should have turned around. I should have risked the police. But then, I saw something in the middle of the road. Not a woman. Not yet. It was a shoe. A single red child sneaker, sitting perfectly upright in the center of my lane. I slowed down. My headlights hit the shoe. It looked brand new. No dirt. No scuffs. I drove past it slowly. 50 yards later, there was another one. Then, another. A trail of red sneakers, spaced exactly 50 yards apart, leading deeper and deeper into the forest. I kept driving. 1 sneaker. 2. 10. I stopped counting at 24. The trail of red shoes just kept going, disappearing into the fog that was now rolling off the trees. It wasn't a normal mist. It was thick. Yellowish. It clung to my windshield like grease. Wipe. 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 The wipers groaned against the glass. The sound was like a rhythmic scream. I realized I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my wrists were aching. I forced myself to loosen up. "It's just a prank," I whispered. My voice felt like it was being swallowed by the upholstery. Some local kids playing a joke on truckers. But I knew that was a lie. I was miles from the nearest town. The shoes were clean. In this mud, in this rain, they should have been filthy. They looked like they had been placed there seconds before I arrived. I looked at the silver briefcase on the passenger seat. The man in the gray suit had told me not to touch it. But now, I noticed something. The leather of the seat around the briefcase was frosting over. White, jagged ice was spreading from the metal corners of the case. I reached out. I touched the handle. I pulled my hand back instantly. It wasn't just cold. It was burning cold, like dry ice. And there was a vibration, a low, deep hum coming from inside the metal. It felt like a heartbeat. Thump. 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 "What the hell am I carrying?" the GPS screen chirped. The blank white screen finally showed something. It wasn't a map. It was a set of coordinates. And beneath them, a single command. "Do not look in the rearview mirror." My heart did a slow, heavy roll in my chest. Usually, when someone tells you not to do something, it's all you can think about. My eyes flicked upward. The mirror was right there, just a small tilt of the head. I resisted. I stared straight ahead. The road was narrowing. The trees were so close now that their branches were hitting my side mirrors. Clack, clack, bang. It sounded like someone was throwing stones at the truck. Then the smell hit me again. The metallic, bloody scent from before. But now, it was mixed with something else. Formaldehyde. The smell of a funeral home. It was coming through the vents. I reached to turn the air off, but the dial was stuck. It wouldn't budge. The cabin was getting colder. My breath began to come out in white puffs. Suddenly, the high beams hit something large. I slammed on the brakes. The truck fishtailed on the wet gravel, sliding toward the edge of a steep drop-off. I stopped just in time. In the middle of the road, there was a tree, a massive fallen pine. It was blocked. There was no way around it. I sat there, the engine idling, my breath fogging up the windows. I had to get out. I had to move that tree, or I had to turn around. But turning around meant looking at the road behind me. It meant looking in the mirror. "Okay," I breathed. Okay, Mark. Just get out. Check the tree. Get back in. I reached for the door handle. It was frozen shut. I shoved it with my shoulder. Once. Twice. On the third try, it popped open with a sound like breaking bone. The silence outside was absolute. No wind, no crickets, no birds. Just the ticking of my cooling engine. I stepped onto the gravel. Crunch. The air was so cold it hurt to breathe. I walked toward the fallen tree. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't a tree. It was a pile of clothes. Thousands of them. Coats, shirts, pants, dresses, all piled 6 feet high across the road. And they were all soaking wet. I stood there, paralyzed. Why would someone dump a mountain of clothes here? I reached down and picked up a jacket from the top of the pile. It was an old denim jacket. In the pocket, I felt something hard. I pulled it out. It was a driver's license. I shined my flashlight on it. The face in the photo was smiling. The name was Mark Stevens. My name. My face. But the expiration date, it was from 1984. The red shoes were gone. The road ahead was just a narrow strip of cracked asphalt, disappearing into a fog that looked like dirty wool. I checked my mirrors. Nothing. Just the black maw of the forest swallowing my taillights. Then, the radio began to howl. It wasn't static. It was the sound of 1,000 whispering voices, all layered on top of each other. I reached to turn it off, but the knob was red hot. I pulled my hand back, hissing in pain. The voices suddenly snapped into one. "Driver," the radio spoke. The voice was hollow. It sounded like it was coming from the back of a deep throat. "You have missed your exit. You are now on the bypass. Listen carefully. The rules have changed. Rule 1. If the road begins to tilt, do not compensate. Let the truck lean. Rule 2. If you see a hitchhiker with a blue umbrella, speed up, even if they look like someone you love. Rule 3. The man in the gray suit lied to you. The briefcase is not a delivery. It is an anchor. I felt a cold stone drop in my stomach. "An anchor?" I whispered. The briefcase on the passenger seat let out a soft, wet thud, like something inside had just rolled over. I looked back at the road. The fog was thinning, but what I saw was worse. The trees weren't pines anymore. They were tall, jagged pillars of what looked like rusted metal, and hanging from the branches were things. Lumpy, heavy bags wrapped in plastic. They were swaying in a wind I couldn't feel. Then, the tilt started. The road began to slant to the left. Hard. The truck felt like it was going to flip over into the abyss. My instinct was to jerk the wheel to the right. But I remembered the rule. Do not compensate. I let the wheel go. I watched, terrified, as the world leaned 45 degrees. I was hovering over the passenger seat, held only by my seatbelt. The truck should have rolled. It should have crashed. But it kept moving forward, defying gravity, gliding along the slanted earth. That's when I saw him. A man standing by a rusted pillar. He was holding a bright blue umbrella. It was the only spot of color in this gray hell. As I got closer, the headlights hit his face. My breath hitched. It was my father. He looked exactly like the day he died. Pale, wasted, wearing his favorite flannel shirt. He held out a hand, waving the umbrella. "Mark, stop the car! It's cold, Mark! Please!" His voice didn't come from outside. It came from the dashboard vents. Warm, wet breath hit my face. I wanted to hit the brakes. My leg was shaking, my brain screaming to help him. But Rule 2 was louder. Speed up. I slammed my foot onto the gas. The truck roared. I flew past him. As I did, I looked in the side mirror. The man with the blue umbrella wasn't a man anymore. His body stretched. His neck grew long, winding around the rusted pillar like a snake. His face opened up, not a mouth, but a vertical tear from his forehead to his chest. He didn't scream. He whistled, a high, sharp sound that cracked my windshield. Crack! I was sobbing now. Pure, mindless terror. I looked at the briefcase. The latches were starting to smoke. A thick, black liquid was leaking from the seams, staining the upholstery. And the smell? It wasn't blood anymore. It was the smell of a basement that hasn't been opened in 50 years. Suddenly, the road leveled out. But the headlights didn't hit asphalt anymore. They hit water. The road was submerged. A dark, still lake stretched out as far as I could see. And standing in the middle of the water was a woman. She was facing away from me, wearing a white dress that was drifting in the black water like a dead lily. Rule 4, the radio whispered, the voice now sounding like a dying gasp. If she turns around, the anchor is dropped, and you stay here forever. She began to turn. I blinked. Hard. Once. Twice. The water vanished. The man in the back seat was gone. The sinking sensation stopped. I was still in my truck. My hands were still gripping the wheel. But the road had changed again. The forest was gone. The fog was gone. There were no trees, no mountains, just a flat, gray wasteland stretching out in every direction. It looked like the bottom of a dried-up ocean, just dust and ash. The silence was absolute. My engine was running, but I couldn't hear it. I could feel the vibration in the floor, but the sound was muted, like I was underwater. Or like I had gone deaf. I checked the speedometer. I was moving at 10 miles per hour. I pressed the gas pedal. Nothing happened. The truck wouldn't speed up. It was on cruise control, locked by something I couldn't override. Then I saw them. Cars. Hundreds of them. They were parked on the shoulder of this endless gray road. Not wrecked. Not rusted. Just parked. I passed a 1990s sedan, dark blue. The windows were up. Inside, I saw a man. He was sitting in the driver's seat. His hands were on the wheel. His eyes were open, staring straight ahead. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't breathing. He looked like a wax figure. 50 yards later, a family van, a mother in the front, 2 kids in the back. They were holding juice boxes, but the juice had dried up years ago. Their faces were blank, peaceful, empty. "Hello," I croaked. My voice didn't echo. The gray dust seemed to absorb the sound instantly. I rolled down my window. "Hey, can anyone hear me?" No one moved. No one looked at me. I was the only thing moving in a graveyard of stalled lives. I looked at the dashboard. The GPS screen was black. But the radio light was on. It wasn't static anymore. It was a soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, 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 like a clock ticking. I kept driving past the rows of cars, old Fords, new Teslas, semi-trucks with their trailers detached. It went on for miles. And then I saw it. Up ahead, on the left side of the road, a truck, a black Ford F-150. It looked exactly like mine. Same dents, same mud splatter on the fender. My heart hammered against my ribs. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible." I drifted closer. The truck was parked perfectly parallel to the road. I looked into the cabin as I passed. The driver's seat was empty. But on the passenger seat, the silver briefcase was there, closed, intact. And next to it on the dashboard was a piece of paper. A note, written in black marker. I was close enough to read it. It said, "Mark, you forgot to wake up." I slammed on the brakes. This time, the truck stopped. Instant inertia. I sat there, staring at the empty truck that was identical to mine. The silence was so loud it hurt my ears. Then, the radio spoke. One last time. It wasn't a machine voice. It was a woman's voice, soft, sad, like a nurse speaking to a patient in a coma. Time of death, 4:15 a.m., cause of death, blunt force trauma. He fell asleep at the wheel. He never even hit the brakes. I looked at my hands. They weren't blue anymore. They were transparent. I could see the steering wheel through my fingers. The gray world outside began to fade to white. Bright, blinding white. And for the first time in hours, I felt warm. The white light was blinding. I closed my eyes. I waited for the end. I waited for the other side. But the warmth faded. The smell of the hospital vanished. I felt the cold steering wheel under my palms again. I opened my eyes. I was back on the highway. The real highway. I could see the green interstate signs. I could see the distant glow of a city on the horizon. The rain was light. Normal. The radio was playing a pop song I'd heard 1,000 times. I made it. I breathed. My hands were solid. My chest was moving. I was alive. I looked at the passenger seat. The silver briefcase was gone. The black oil was gone. Everything was back to normal. But then I noticed something. The GPS, Gary, was still on. The screen wasn't showing a map. It was showing a live video feed. A grainy black and white view of a road. Old Loggers Pass. I watched the screen, frozen. In the video, a truck was driving down the dark road. A black Ford F-150. My truck. I saw the truck slow down. I saw the man, the other Mark, get out. He looked confused, tired. He walked toward a pile of wet clothes in the middle of the road. Then I saw her. The woman in the white dress. She crawled out from under the truck. Her movements were jagged, fluid. She stood up behind the other Mark. She reached out a long, pale hand and touched his shoulder. And then she looked directly into the camera, directly at me. She wasn't a monster. She wasn't a ghost. She was a girl, maybe 20 years old. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red from crying. She held up a small, handwritten sign. "Thank you for replacing me." In that second, the memories rushed back. The man in the gray suit in Boise, the briefcase, the anchor. The briefcase didn't contain money or documents. It contained a soul, a permanent resident of the pass. To leave that road, someone has to take your place. Someone has to carry the anchor until they can trick the next driver into taking it. I didn't escape. I traded. I looked in the rearview mirror one last time. The woman in the white dress was sitting in my back seat. She looked clean now. Her dress was dry. She looked like a normal girl going on a road trip. "Where to?" she whispered. Her voice was sweet, innocent. I didn't answer. I looked at the road ahead. I saw a pair of headlights in the distance, a lone car driving toward us in the middle of the night. I reached into the glove box. I pulled out a silver latch. The anchor was gone, but the job wasn't over. I turned the steering wheel. I pulled over to the shoulder. I stepped out of the truck and stood in the middle of the lane. I waited for the headlights to get closer. The cycle has to continue. The road is always hungry. And I'm just the new recruiter. If you're driving late tonight, if you see a man in a black truck waving for help, if your GPS tells you to take a detour, don't stop. Keep driving. Because if you stop, I'll be the last thing you ever see. The road is a lonely place. We think we're just passing through, but some places, they don't let go. Mark is still out there, somewhere between Boise and Oregon, waiting for the next headlights. If this story gave you chills, make sure to check your back seat before you start the car. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, have you ever seen something on a night drive that you couldn't explain? Stay safe, stay awake, and never, ever take the detour.